This is a place.
This is the place?
This is a place. We want to talk about. This is a place.
Welcome to This is a Place podcast. I am Nate, and with me is a guy who's never been beat in the dog paddle, Brandon.
Tell you what, that's really the only, can you even call it a stroke? You know, as growing up in Utah, we all had to participate in scouts, right?
Right.
And I mean, going to camps and stuff, you have to qualify for the swim checks and everything. And I was stuck as a tenderfoot for the majority of my scout time. And so what happened is I didn't know how to swim. And I had to take private swimming lessons when I was 16.
Interesting. So do you know how to swim now outside the doggy paddle?
I can survive. I can
Stay afloat.
move in the water. I mean, I passed the swim check so I could go to Bear Lake and participate in all the water activities. But beyond that, I'm pretty bad at swimming.
Yeah, I definitely could use some lessons on technique. Had a friend in high school who was on the swim team. And so this is when we were in our early 20s. I took him to the gym and he became a chain smoker. And I was at the time in really great shape, in my opinion. I could run forever at the time. But we got in the pool and did a couple laps. And after about 4 or 5 laps, I was dying out of breath. And this is a guy who smoked all the time. And he could just, like a fish, back and forth, like no big deal.
Wow.
But it's because his technique is so good that it's less effort for him. So, but yeah, I'm definitely not the strongest.
Doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, it didn't seem fair. Because like on the basketball court, I could run around circles around him as far as endurance went. But in this pool, he was much better because he had better technique. I was scared to death to dive head first into the pool.
I'm still scared of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. We have the county pass for the rec centers, and so we go to the pool quite often. But I love going to the locations that have the higher dive. They have usually 2 diving boards. One's kind of lower, normal, and the higher one. And I love diving head first off the high dive now. I probably have zero style, but it's fun. And even last summer, people were like, "Did you really just high dive or jump off the high dive head first?" I'm like, "Yeah." It was kind of a small celebrity at the Taylorsville pool for about an hour. People wanted to see the fat guy jump off the high dive.
They just were hoping you'd do a big belly flop.
Yeah, well, it was funny because even some of the adults, like the older guys there, like if the fat guy can do it, then I can do it too. So it was fun watching them try to do it.
And they couldn't do it.
I kind of gave the to do it. Yes. Yeah. There was some fun dives, but I just.
Well, lucky for both of us, I guess, that we did
overcame our fears.
Yeah, overcame our fears, but also didn't have to really know how to swim in going to the place that we're talking about today.
No. I mean, you had to know a little bit, right? I mean, you had to be at least dog paddle. I think it'd be very dangerous for somebody to go to this place without knowing how to at least dog paddle.
But we don't need to worry about that now, because if you want to go visit this place, too bad, so sad, it doesn't exist anymore. And we are talking about Raging Waters.
Raging Waters still exists. It's just not open anymore.
Oh yeah, you can find a way in there, but it's not. There's no water and there's nobody running the pool, so it'd be very dangerous to try. I mean, we went and visited it and talked about if we could even go up on those slides and just pull in Always Sunny in Philadelphia and just drop some water from water bottles on the slide and then go down it. But that would be a terrible idea.
Terrible. Yes, I'm glad we both saw that episode, so we didn't fight ourselves.
As fun as it would be to go down the Thunder Gun Express, I don't think that would be a smart move on our part.
Yes.
But yeah, Raging Waters, right? What a great place.
Which later, I'm sure we'll bring it up, change its name to Seven Peaks. So yeah,
I'm thinking though that our listeners are like, man, these guys are spending a lot of time in this area of Salt Lake. If you look at the geography, we did Santo Taco, which is up at the top at Rose Park. You go down a little bit, Peace Gardens, a little bit further south, and to the west, you've got now Raging Waters, and in our previous episode, we did NPS, right?
yeah, just west, which is literally less than a mile from the MPS store.
So I don't know how this happened, but for some reason we just visit all these places in this central part of Salt Lake. So
Yeah.
we don't live anywhere near it.
The good news is that if you're just now starting to listen to this podcast, or if you have been listening and you want to go check out 4 of our locations within a short period of time, there you have it. There's 4 places you can go to really quick.
I know a couple of people have done the This Is a Place roadmap before, but we're making it real easy on you now with these ones.
Yeah, that's for sure, depending on where you live.
Well, sadly, as we've said, this place is closed, but it's pretty recent closure, meaning we've got some internet to go back on, and we can still read some solid reviews from the place.
Yes, I'm very interested to know what reviews we have of this place.
I'm not going to pull any punches because we're not going to offend anybody with the negative reviews, but they're always the best. So that's what we got for what will be on Google's listed 7 peaks.
What's their ranking? Like how many stars does Raging Waters have on Google?
They have a 3.1 rating. If you look at the Google review summary breakdown, it always gives you bars, right? It shows the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and how many relative ratings there are for each. And the 5 and the 1 are both equal. So people love it or they hated it.
It's interesting. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's the lowest average score on Google so far from what we've reviewed.
Yeah, this is the lowest one, which I find interesting because a lot of the reviews, for example, from Jim, this one says, closed down last year and isn't going to reopen until at least next year in 2020. Spoiler alert, we're in 2020 and it's not open. When the new management company takes over, hopefully they'll manage it better than Seven Peaks did. So this guy is giving it a 1 star simply for the fact that it's closed down. You look right underneath that, and David says it's closed permanently and gave it a 1 star rating. So some of these 1 stars are simply to the fact that it's closed. So I don't know if we can accurately say that 3.1 defines what it was.
Well, I also have another theory outside of that, is that Raging Waters has been around for a long time, since I was a kid. And the internet has not been around as long as Raging Waters has been. With that being said, I do know, like, over the last 10 years or so, Raging Waters, or Seven Peaks, whatever you want to call it, kind of started going downhill. So probably by the time Google reviews started, it was already kind of on the decline. Does that make sense? Where if we had reviews from when it first opened, I'm sure the reviews would be a lot higher. Does that make sense?
In every other case, I would probably agree with you, except this place was always on the decline.
Right. When I went as a kid, was a lot longer before you started going. Does that make sense? Like, it was, to me, as a kid, I'm sure we're going to get into this, but as a kid, it was a really cool place, but it didn't seem to be as cool or as well kept as years went on. So maybe even by the time you started going, it was already on the decline. So anyways, sorry for the distraction. Back to
it's fine. People are going to be surprised. We never have tangents on our episodes. So
yes, we usually stick to the script.
We stick right to the content. Some other negative ones that were pretty funny. This person says, this place is awful. When we went, my husband stepped in poo in the locker rooms. The tidal wave pool was not clean at all. Lots of different pools were shut down, and ground everywhere was scorching hot. My 5-year-old daughter at the time slid down the rock slide and cut her leg and bled pretty bad. Horrible experience, and the place was very disgusting and way overpriced. We will never go again. Don't have to worry about that, Crystal, because it's not open. So,
Doesn't mean you can't go there and probably step in some poop still.
oh, I'm sure there's plenty to go around. This other one, Jessica says, we bought a year pass, but they only let us use it for less than 6 months.
That's the best one.
I mean, we live in Utah, right? How much time can you actually spend at an outdoor water park in the state of Utah?
Oh, I don't know why that's funnier than it needs to be, but that's a good one. I mean, I did get a season pass with my friend, and they also only let us go for about 6 months.
Interesting. Same thing for Lagoon too, right?
Same thing for
You get a
Lagoon.
little bit longer at Lagoon, but you're getting a season pass, and it's appropriately named a season pass because it's not an annual. It's not open all year round.
Right, it's not Disneyland. Well,
Well, they still had some
Right
good
now.
reviews too, right? But my favorite positive reviews was from just about a week ago. And Tristan said, apparently it's abandoned and whoever wants to check it out, hit me up. So I don't know what that means or how I can connect with Tristan, but it's definitely abandoned, and I think appropriately given a 5-star rating from him.
So hold on. One person said it's closed, 1-star review. Next person said it's closed, 5-star review. I'm confused.
Okay, well, let's get into it. Let's talk about the beginnings of Raging Waters and what happened. Why is it no longer around?
And that's what we are here to find out.
So it began in 1979. It started out as Wild Wave was owned by the Salt Lake City Corporation, or they're the ones that opened it at the beginning, and they put in a 550,000 gallon wave pool, which still lasted until the bitter end, right?
Right. So believe it or not, Raging Waters is basically the same age as I am.
The Salt Lake City Corp didn't have it for very long, and eventually, so I don't know if this is cheating. We usually do stuff that's specific to Utah, but it was a company, I believe, based in New Jersey that came in and created Raging Waters, and they operated at that time 4 other locations in California and in New Jersey, and they took over in 1984, so not too long after the place originally opened up. And the reason that they came and took it over was because they built the wave pool, expected to make a certain amount, and that just wasn't panning out, so weren't having success, and someone else had to come in, infuse some money into it, do this whole expansion, and they named it Raging Waters after that. So that's my point. It was always on the decline. They, even in those early years, they were having financial troubles. There's still 3 water parks. I don't know about the New Jersey ones, but there's 3 water parks in California to this day called Raging Waters. They are in Sacramento, San Jose, and San Dimas.
San Dimas.
Do you know why San Dimas is important, Nate?
Because Abraham Lincoln loves San Dimas. And Napoleon loves the water slides at the Raging Waters. Which, on a sad note, the 3rd installment of that movie series was supposed to come out this August. So fingers crossed. Still happens.
That which you were referring to as Bill and Ted, right?
The most excellent adventure ever.
Yeah. I heard that they had planned originally to come film at the Raging Waters here in Utah, but since it closed down, they weren't able to. So,
For
too
the
bad.
For the 3rd installment.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the name? I mean, total tangent again, but what's the name of the water park in Bill and Ted's?
Okay, wait. If we were one of the greatest generals in history, and we were stranded in San Dimas for one day, where would we go?
Here we go. Way back.
Waterloo!
Waterloo.
I wonder if they actually filmed it at Raging Waters.
Oh, at the San Dimas one? That's a good question. I don't know why I just assumed it did. And now we're going down a weird rabbit hole. Things are afoot at the Circle K.
Good chance it was at Raging Waters.
Oh, I think
Oh, no, it wasn't. It was filmed in Mesa.
Mesa, yeah.
They were in San Dimas, but they said they went to Waterloo, which actually wasn't in San Dimas. They should have just went to Raging Waters, right?
Absolutely.
Then we have even more of a Utah tie-in to that movie, but we're just going to go with it for now and just pretend that that was the case. From 1991, so this was before I was even born, they had put in this new world's first H2O roller coaster, which they called the Acapulco Cliff Dive, where you could go top to bottom in 10 seconds. It's the biggest one there that you can still see to this day. It's still standing, right?
Definitely was an interesting slide. My favorite part about it is when you go down the slide, because you go head first, right, on these mats with handles that you hold on to, and you go down, and obviously like a roller coaster, you're going back up. But if you don't make it over the hump, you slide back down, and it's we called it like the walk of shame, because there would be a lifeguard at the middle of the first curve that would pull you out of the slide, and you'd have to walk off knowing that you didn't make it over the hump to go down into the pool. So,
well, my walk of shame right now is to say that I never even went on this because I was too scared to do it. So I'm a little embarrassed to admit it.
It took me, I think, I know at least the first, maybe second try, I didn't make it over because I was a lot younger when I first tried it and a lot smaller, but I did eventually make it over. And then when I started going back as an adult with my kids, when it was Seven Peaks, I didn't even dare try it because I feared that I was too big now, that I would go over the hump and just go flying and then Superman and land somewhere and die.
That's a legitimate concern.
It was, yeah, scary because the one right next to it, you could kind of get a little bit of air because it goes straight down and then it kind of levels out, then it drops again. But you can get a little bit of air if you timed it just right. That always made me a little bit nervous going down the roller coaster, being a bigger guy than I was when I was younger.
Now the only reason you can't get over it is because there's no water flowing on it.
Well, if we do what you said and drop a couple bottles of water down it, then for sure.
We're still not getting over it, I promise.
We could get the mats and put some oil on it, then we might make it over.
Yeah. It sounds like it was kind of in its heyday back then. So this might have, in 1991, you might have been going there. And
so 91 when the roller coaster opened up?
Uh-huh.
Holy cow. It feels like the roller coaster is still a relatively new thing there, but that makes sense. I was only 11 years old when the roller coaster came out, but wow.
And things were going pretty good in those days. This is a really positive article from the Desert News from back in June of 1991. If you fast forward then, though, just 3 years, December of 1994, and things are looking a little grim at Raging Waters. As it says, Raging Waters tries to stay afloat amid waves of financial problems. There's a pun for you. People aren't coming as much. Attendance is dropping. Talks about how many... I mean, even the weather is a factor in a water park like this, right? If you have a year where there's just lots of rain and stuff, that makes for days that the park can't operate. It can't be opened up. And so you have a really bad year, and then you're just not making money. So back in these days, they were just trying to stay afloat. They were breaking even. Previous years, they were even taking a loss on the park. Just not a lot of good. Things weren't looking as positive as just 3 years prior when they're like, yeah, this place is going to last for years, probably 100 years. A few short years later, nothing even close to that. It does last, though, goes in, but it still continued on through 2011, and eventually the debt and all the issues was just too much that Seven Peaks, who had a park down in Provo, they stepped in and bought the Raging Waters. the area is owned by Salt Lake, and they just have leased it to these parks over the years. So they leased it to Raging Waters, and then they leased it to Seven Peaks. They only had a couple years of the lease, but then it expired in 2019, and then it just closed for good.
So was the last season in 2018 or 2019?
It seems like it would have been 2018 because in June of 2019 there was a post talking about how what's going on at Raging Waters? It looks like it's closed and not opening back up. So
Oh, that's true, because it was kind of quiet. Like everyone expected it to open up in the summer 2019, and it never did, right?
yeah, which leads to even some controversy if you remember the Get Out Pass or the Pass of all passes, right?
Yeah.
At that time, they were offering a full year passport. A lot of people bought it here in Salt Lake thinking that meant they'd be able to go to this location in Salt Lake, but in nowhere did it tell them, oh, just kidding, Salt Lake location is closed and not opening up this year. And so they would have had to go all the way down to Provo, which wouldn't have been as convenient for these families thinking they've got this pass that's going to lend to hours of fun just down the street, right?
Yeah, which is funny. So I'm guessing a lot of people probably for like the Christmas holiday got the pass of all passes, which was funny. It was crazy when the pass of all passes kind of came to be, and it was the water park was part of it, When I think I was 21, me and my friend went, and I worked just a couple blocks away from Raging Waters. Um, and so we went and got season passes to Raging Waters, thinking it'd be a good deal because a day pass. Well, I'm looking just right now online for Raging Waters in LA. A day pass is like $50.
Oh my gosh.
But when you buy a season pass for places like this, a season pass, you can get one for like $60 and then $100 if you want parking included. So, Raging Waters back then was about the same type of situation where if you bought a season pass, you only really had to go once, or not once, but two, maybe three times, and you paid for it. So me and my buddy went and for like $50 or maybe even $60 bought a season pass to Raging Waters, which isn't a lot of money, but it's also not cheap, right? So the pass of all passes comes out for $20. So it's kind of funny how much people expected or felt they were entitled to for their $20 pass. And the pass also wasn't just for Raging Waters, it was for a bunch of other venues. So it was just funny to see the comments online of people complaining about the pass of all passes. And I'm like, but really, it was only $20. So can you complain?
Yeah.
Can you
I get
that much?
Well, it's interesting to go back and see these articles. For this one, talking about the people frustrated about the pass of all passes, they were initially saying they weren't going to issue refunds, but then, of course, Gephardt got involved, and all of a sudden the refunds started to come, as things do when he steps in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just showed the demise of it, even down to. I mean, we're not talking we're talking specifically about the Salt Lake location, but the Seven Peaks eventually in Provo also closed down. And there was talk of how this new company was going to come in and basically make it the Disneyland of water parks. They were called Blue Island. And I guess the plan was they were going to do this both in Salt Lake and in Provo. But as we've seen, Salt Lake continues to be closed, and Provo just barely got back up and running again. So this Blue Island kind of got somewhere, but then things didn't work out as well. So it was another company that stepped in and completed the project in Provo.
So did the other company step in and take over, and the other company's now out of the picture, or did they step in to help financially and they're still around?
This Blue Island doesn't even exist anymore.
Okay. So the Disneyland idea is probably never happening.
Probably not. I mean, I've seen tons of ads for Splash Summit.
Yeah, I mean, I see ads all over the place, especially on Facebook.
Well, let's look back at the old days and what was great about Raging Waters. I found an article where the lady was detailing they had around 15 attractions. So what they had were these H2O roller coasters, They had other smaller slides. One of the most popular things was their rope swing, which I
Mhm.
remember going on and was a lot of fun to go on and jump into the water. They, of course, had a lazy river, the big wave pool. What were some of your favorites when you would visit?
I liked, depends on what part of my life. As a kid, I was a little scared of thrill rides, so stuff
Hmm.
that was fast. Um, but as an adult, and well, actually more as a teenager and on, I love the thrill, the adrenaline rush type stuff. So
Yeah.
um, I really like the roller coaster one, and well, not really roller coaster one right next to it. It's a straight shot down. That one was fun, and the fact that you do get to go down head first, so it's a little different than the other slides. I do like the Rampage one too. I think that's what they called it. That's what I'm talking about. Where you kind of like on that yellow sled. That one was kind of fun.
I couldn't find real consistency in the names for things. There was a Dinosaur Bay, which was something kind of for the kids. And then we got Rainforest Rapids, Whitewater, Drench, Typhoon Tunnel, Tropical Plunge, Monsoon Lagoon, all sorts of things, names I can't attach to which things they were. But for me, my favorite was always the wave pool because going to Raging Waters, that was my first time experiencing something like that. And I just thought it was so fun. I could have just sat in there for hours.
Oh, it's fun to go in there and just sit there, right, and
Hmm.
back and forth. It's only unpleasant when it's like jam full of people. Um,
I still had fun. It was jam full of people, honestly. It was kind of, I like it because you get that adrenaline of being in the ocean, kind of, but it's not the same because you're not getting the salt water in your face. It's not as scary to know that if you get pulled in, like you're done for.
yeah, the wave pool was a lot of fun, no doubt.
As we've mentioned, we went and visited to take a look at what the place is like now. We did that today, and
Yeah, still there,
sort of.
just minus the water and people.
Seem, seems like a lot of people have broke into it and graffitied it up pretty good. So even if someone steps in and tries to revamp it, they're cut their work cut out for them in fixing it up because it's a mess.
Yeah, it's going to take a little bit of elbow grease to clean it up. But luckily, like as far as the cost of construct it, it's already done, right? You just have to clean everything up and get everything up and running again.
I don't know how much of a toll this took on the place. Not I couldn't see any evidence of it, but there were two fires
I
in
know at least one. I remember it was on the news, like the
yeah.
grass, because nobody's really taking care of the landscaping, right? They're just
Well, I mean, we went there and there was tons of weeds today. That was one of the
right,
things that, I mean, as I'm dealing with a yard that has weeds, I know how big of a problem they are. So there was one fire, July 23rd, which was because of the weeds, and they came in and pretty quickly were able to take care of that. But then just 2 weeks later, August 4th, one of the offices caught on fire, and they said they were doing an investigation, but they attributed it to just some squatters that were actually living inside the offices there and caused the fire. So they never came out and said what it officially was, but you have to imagine that wasn't from weeds inside the building, right?
right.
At
And
least
I
not those kinds of weeds we were talking about.
know different types of weed. But I hear that's still a problem today with just people, obviously, because there's graffiti everywhere, but just squatters and whatnot just getting into the park. So
I'm sure we could have found a way in if we really wanted to. We're responsible and we're not going to go trespassing as tempting as it would be, right?
right, and it's hard to do a podcast if you're in jail. Just kidding.
Yeah. I heard the sound quality isn't that great in the cells.
Well, it's interesting. So you mentioned, I believe that it's now owned by, or the county owns it, right? Or the city owns it.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
they're leasing the land. So it'd be interesting to know if the city didn't own it and it was a private entity that owned the land, if the city would be on their case to clean the place up. But since it's the city owns it, nobody cares. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
So you just
Yeah,
wonder.
it's an eyesore. I mean, if you go just a little bit to the west of it, you've got Glendale Park, which looks like it's pretty well kept up, right? And
Right.
then just right over, just to the east of it, you've got this abandoned water park just sitting there decaying and graffiti. I mean, it's still cool to see either way. It was fun to go and get pictures of it, but it's nowhere near in what it once was in its glory days.
Oh
It's
yeah.
really, really run down.
To think that it's really only been less than 2 years since it was last operating, right? Well, no, less because of to the end of 2018 summer season, right?
Hmm.
But just how bad it looked in just a 2 year time period. I mean, it looks like it's been run down for years and years, in my opinion.
What was interesting to me is when we pull in the parking lot, it seemed like there was some kind of security guard
Yeah, there was a security guard in a car, but we weren't sure was he there for the park or
for the shade.
yeah, but he was also sitting over in the shade, and it was a hot day, so
If he was a security guard for the park, he was doing a terrible job because we were walking all around taking pictures. I think if you were a security guard and you saw some kind of activity, you'd be inquisitive of that. See, okay, what's going on? Why are these people walking around? But I don't know if he was because that seems like a lot of energy to put into something that's just sitting there unless there's some kind of plan for revamping it, right?
right, right. So, um, well, that would be an excellent job to have, though. Then, right, just to sit in an empty parking lot and get
He was
paid.
probably sleeping.
Could have been.
I wonder, what do you think if we had the means, how could we revamp this water park? How could we make it the Disneyland of Utah, of water parks?
I don't know. I think if it has to be somebody, we'd have to have so much money that we would do it more as a charity to because I really think it's got to be so hard to make money in that arena. Um, like I
That
said,
also
especially
that
have
almost have to be something to offer aside from just the water park aspect of it, right? It has to be a year-round sort of moneymaker.
right because I think I mean I don't know the only other water park that I've known that's opened up in the last 20 years in Utah was the Cowabunga Bay, and it'd be interesting to see their financials, but it's just
Or like
not
a Cherry Hill.
Cherry Hill, but Cherry Hill has more things to offer than the water.
Hmm.
I mean, the camping and I mean, gosh, it's been 30 years since I've been to Cherry Hills. Um, but I think they have a little bit more to offer than Raging Waters could offer you or opportunities to make money. Be interesting. Yeah, you definitely would have to have some other aspect to offset the times that you can't use the water park. Just be hard. Just be hard to make money. That's got to be a very risky venture.
One that I'm not readily available to take. But if we get the opportunity to go tour it, do some urban exploring, I'm going to talk about how interested I am and all the plans that I have for this place, just so we can get an opportunity to go inside without trespassing.
So will you have like a little piece of paper with your crayon drawings of what you think this place should
Yeah,
be like?
make it look real official. Maybe I'll have my daughter draw some little pictures for it, and they'll take one glance at those and be like, "Oh yeah, these guys are serious. These guys are going to revitalize this area, get back to its former glory."
And that's another thing too. I wonder is just the location of the park just doesn't work. Just not enough. I mean, Salt Lake's kind of an older demographic compared to somewhere like Provo that has a bunch of kids. So I just wonder if the location of the park just doesn't work.
So that's Raging Waters. Let us know what you guys think about it, what you miss about Raging Waters, some of your memories of it, and if you're in that area of Salt Lake, doing your rounds, visiting the other places we've talked about, may as well go drive by and take a look at it.
But I got a question for you, Brandon.
Yeah.
Which dog knows how to swim underwater?
Which one?
Scuba-doo!
Oh boy.
And I do remember a couple of times when I went to Raging Waters, I would get water in my ear while swimming, and the feeling was quite irritating.
That would be irritating, just about as irritating as that joke.
That joke was. And I know school just got out, but do you know why the teacher put her finger in the water?
Why is that?
She was testing the waters. How well does a 3-legged dog swim?
How well?
Only 3 feet below the surface.
Well, I think that's just as good of a place for us to end.
Let's hope maybe the Splash Summit in Utah County does well, so maybe it will entice somebody to want to invest some time and money into Raging Waters and get it reopened. But
let us know if you want us to go visit Splash Summit and give our 2 cents on it, or what other places we need to go and visit.
Yeah, and let us know what memories you have of Seven Peaks / Raging Waters.
You say Seven Peaks Splash Raging Waters?
That works too. Splash. There you go. I got you on the dad jokes.
All right. Well, I'm just going to do a belly flop out of here.
Sink or swim. We're out.